James Arrow Jones from his dressing room in the West End to our little dressing room in Westminster. Welcome to This Week.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Now, let me ask you, you've met the President. Give us your impressions.
I met him like in a receiving line, so that's not really meeting anyone. That's shaking hands. But it was a great moment for me.
We'd settle for that.
Yeah, I did, yes. And I wanted to tell him what he meant to me, not just me as a citizen, but me as an actor, me as an artist. And I never had a chance to do that. I just got a chance to read some Shakespeare to his children and some gathered people.
It was always likely that he would never live up to the huge expectations.
It depends on who's expecting, you know. I think when he was sworn in, he had a job to do. I don't think it has anything to do with expectations. We probably had some weird expectations, but not about our job. That was the problem. We thought he was the magic maker, perhaps, you know, and that's all wrong.
And he's not a magician.
No, no one is.
He's a president.
Yeah. And you know, in his inauguration, he said, you know, some inaugurations are the oath is taken during times of serene peace and prosperity. Other times in gathering storms, including the gathering storm economically and militarily.
And two
he
wars.
walked right into it. Yeah.
Diane, he was, I think, it's inevitable when you come off that peak, you're bound to disappoint. But I think even you and I would not have thought that the falling off would have been as much as it is a year in.
I don't know. I mean, you're always going to get a backlash. And although, you know, people said really hateful things about the Clintons, I think there's a racial edge to some of what those Tea Parties and right-wingers, you know, say as well. In some ways, he got the presidency at a terrible time when the economy was on the floor.
Sure.
But he has taken a long time to sort this healthcare stuff out. I mean, Lyndon Baines Johnson had put through the Voting Rights Act, which gave black people the vote, and had put through most of the Great Society within 6 months of taking office. And it's the length of time he took on healthcare, trying to be friendly with the Republicans, that has got him in this fix.
He's lost 18 points in his personal rating over a year. How much is that his own fault? How much is inevitable?
Oh, I think some of it is his own fault. I don't think he has been very deft in the way either he's managed his legislation or the economy. And the significance of losing these points is that lots of senators and congressmen on his side now feel very vulnerable in the midterm elections. And that means either that for their support they demand a price, and that's wasted a lot of time as well as a lot of money having to buy off all these people with things for their constituencies, or they feel reluctant to support the healthcare at all because they think it is dynamite in their constituencies.
It's difficult to see how you can go forward with the healthcare now.
And by the way, in Massachusetts, very large numbers of voters who switched from voting Obama to voting Brown the day before yesterday said they did so on the basis of the healthcare reform.
Which is interesting. I want to bring our guest back in here. I know that you're a great follower of American history. Place what's happening in a historical context.
No, I think what happened to Obama, besides the events of history, the economy and the wars, was that you mentioned backlash. You got something that happened a long time ago, when Lincoln and Grant were trying to heal the nation, called the Reconstruction. You got people who did not want that to happen. Who wanted to bring the country back to slavery, frankly, or some form of segregation, and they were very effective because they were, you see, what the anti-Obama people had practiced for a whole, several years, and so they hit the ground running with his inauguration. They were right off,
And they just want to stop Obama in his tracks.
Yeah.
A
lot of them do.
In the same way as people wanted to stop Reconstruction after the Civil War.
Yeah, to stop it, yes.
You see, today I'm still slightly puzzled, though. The fact is that he's still got an 18-seat majority in the Senate. He's got 70 plus in the House. When did the last time did the Republicans have an 18-seat majority in the Senate?
No.
1923. was the last time. He should still be able to get things done simply by weaning, as always happens in the Senate, a couple of the other side over to your side. And he's not doing it.
He can still get things done. And maybe this bank stuff is the sort of stuff he thinks he can get some Republicans to vote for. Well, and it is a good thing to get tough on the banks.
So in this evening, when we're being quite negative, I think two extraordinary things have happened. One some time ago, which is Obama's approach to Islam. The speech at Cairo University. I was in Yemen recently. I was going through the streets, and the kids say, "Oh, you know, we don't like America, but we love Obama." That's extraordinary that people in the Arab street are saying that. The second thing, which I think is epoch-making, I don't want to overstate it, it's epoch-making, what he's saying about the banks. He's going to break up the American banks. Now, it's interesting to me...
Well, that's what he wants to do, but let's see if he gets it through the Congress.
He's got to get it through. But it's very interesting because when Clinton, after 1 year, got into a mess, by the way, over health reform, overseen by Hillary Clinton, his response was to go back to the centre and then to govern as a moderate conservative president, and quite a successful one, actually. Obama appears to be going to the populist left. So that's quite an interesting move.
There's a long history in America of Main Street versus Wall Street. And you saw that during Roosevelt, you saw it in the populist uprisings in the late 19th century, early 20th century. Is Obama's move on the banks, is that part of a Main Street versus Wall Street play? Is that what he's out to do?
I'm not sure. I really shouldn't comment because I'm not sure about it.
Diane?
Feels like that to me. I've been reading the blogs this evening. And as such, much harder for the Republicans to fight against than to fight against healthcare.
Yeah, except that when you look at the details, it begins to unravel. He's saying that banks cannot invest in hedge funds. He's saying they can't invest in private equity. I know of none of these investments causing the huge financial meltdown.
Yeah, but, you know, it's the broad picture that Americans are seeing. And, you know, again, announced today, Goldman Sachs record bonuses. I mean, and yet in America they've got record unemployment, particularly in the black community. This assault on the banks will be very popular.
I think what is so remarkable is that the leadership of the banks has been so woeful. I mean, firstly, so woeful as to lead us into a world economic disaster. And secondly, so woeful in this last year as to maintain the bonuses, to put two fingers up to the taxpayer all around the world. And they're leading the banks into a second phase of disaster, which is that governments all around the world feel obliged to take revenge on behalf of the taxpayer.
Of course, Obama